Historians of the Peloponnesian War will be most familiar with the figure of Nicias. As a young man, he inherited silver mines in Larium and used his wealth to fund artistic performances to curry favor with the Athenians. According to Plutarch, this was because he lacked the oratory skills that prominent politicians employed. When the Athenian general Pericles died in 429 BC, Nicias became one of the leading men in Athens due to his ability and patriotism. Though he was a capable military general, Nicias never accepted the top command because he feared becoming a target for ostracism. In 423, Athens and Sparta sought a peace deal after several years of war, and Nicias took up the duty of negotiating the settlement. Though it took another 2 years of conflict before the two sides could finally reach an agreement, the Peace of Nicias was officially signed in 421. The treaty was designed to return both Athens and Sparta to their pre-war boundaries. But while Nicias advocated for peace, his political rival, Alcibiades, argued for a continuation of the war. Their feud continued for several years, spilling into the next major conflict for Athens, the island of Sicily. In 415, ambassadors from Egesta called on Athens for support against the city of Syracuse. Nicias attempted to dissuade the Athenians from sailing west, but was made a general for the expedition against his wishes. Joined by his rival Alcibiades and the elder statesman Lamachus, the Athenians had high hopes for a successful campaign. Initially, the Syracusans feared the Athenian armada, but the cautious nature of Nicias gave them courage. Despite the Athenians winning a land battle in autumn of that year, the Syracusans were reinforced by the Spartans the following spring. Coupled with changes in command and poor management of reinforcements, Nicias and the Athenians were eventually defeated by the Syracusans in September 414 BC. An attempt to retreat by land was thwarted, and the remaining Athenians were captured and sold into slavery. Nicias himself was killed on orders of the Syracusan command by the following year. The news of the defeat reached Athens, but was disregarded as a fabrication before witnesses arrived to confirm their suspicions. The failure of the campaign would spell a political disaster for Athens, and Sparta would use this defeat as an opportunity to renew the war with their longtime rival. And now we shall turn our attention to his Roman counterpart. Known to history as the richest man in Rome, Marcus Licinius Crassus was a man who constantly fought from underneath for the distinction of the first man in Rome. In his youth, he and his family were hunted by the consul Lucius Cinna during the Civil War. As a result, Crassus was forced to flee to Spain, where he gained a large following before returning to aid Sulla in his conquest of Rome in 83 BC. Plutarch writes that it was during Sulla's civil war where Crassus first began his rivalry with Pompeius Magnus. Later, in 72, Crassus waged a war against the gladiator Spartacus and his slave army, but was robbed of his expected triumph by Pompeius. Despite this setback, Crassus pursued a political career to make his reputation equal to the military accomplishments of his rival. Over the next 18 years, Crassus obtained 2 consulships with Pompeius and became the financial backer of Julius Caesar. By 59 BC, the 3 men had formed the first triumvirate and were recognized as the most powerful men in the state. But even with this distinction, Crassus appeared to still fall short of the glories of his 2 compatriots. In 54, Crassus was given the province of Syria to govern after his consulship, and it is here that his ambitions for glory were stirred. Crassus sought to expand the Roman territory eastward into India and surpass the glories of Caesar and Pompeius. Despite the Roman consensus of not making war against the nation of Parthia, Crassus led 7 legions directly into the Syrian desert. In time, the Parthian army encountered the Romans and used their horsemen to deplete the strength of the legions with archers and heavy cavalry. By the end of the first day, the Romans had retreated to the city of Carrhae, but were in danger of being overrun by the Parthians. A truce was called between Crassus and the Parthian leader Surena to ensure the safe retreat of the remaining legions. However, a scuffle between the soldiers ensued, resulting in Crassus being killed and beheaded. His death and the loss of 30,000 soldiers was among the worst defeats ever suffered by Rome. After this disaster, the alliance between Pompeius and Caesar crumbled. Their hostilities would ignite a new civil war in 49 BC, where Caesar would emerge victorious and begin to reshape the Republic before his own death years later.